Okay, if we look at the trading day for the fourth day, this is Thursday, the 4th of November, and we're coasting home towards the first weekend in the 11th month of the year. Welcome everyone to the show. Thank you so much, Joshua Debisi, Head of Banking Research and Analysis at Vertiva Capital Management. Thank you so much for making the time. The BRVM fell by 23 basis points yesterday. The Nigerian market eked out just about 1/10. Egyptian market just around the same margin. The Nairobi Bourse up by 11 basis points. Then the GSE got a bit of a bigger reading of nearly 1.2% for the third trading day of the week. That was Wednesday. Put it all together, let's take into some of the headlines, starting as always from the East African market. Kenya, which is the signpost of our East Corridor. Moody says sovereign credit outlook for the year 2022 will be stable amid economic recovery, broadly speaking, around the world. In the meantime, Safaricom, the East Africa's largest telco, is defending accusations that it's a monopoly, and that's coming from a main rival, Airtel of Kenya. And Tanzania's President Suluhu Samia wants the unlocking of climate change funding is the week of the UN Climate Change Conference in Glasgow. The U.S. suspended duty-free access to Ethiopian exports. That's another economic issue for the Horn of Africa's biggest economy that is facing rebellion from the Tigray region, which is beginning to hurt the country's economy. And a Rwandan startup, Ampersand, gets about roughly $10 million from the DFC to expand its operations. Joshua, give me your thoughts so far. It's the fourth day of the UN climate change. What's your thoughts on the funding side? What are you learning? What do you think this agenda should be for frontier markets of Africa?
Well, so the thing is, I think our position in this conversation should be, we should actually, I think personally anyways, I believe that it's definitely important for us to just assert ourselves as the country that will be the worst affected with the least contribution to climate change, and the fact that there are so many objectives or agendas being set that it will be, will have a lot of economic implications for us as a continent. And yet, obviously, I don't think there's any economy in Africa right now that is able to afford those initiatives or those policies that will help to reverse or slow down climate change. So I think that definitely there has to be some support from, the West or from the UN or from whoever to sort of address those issues. And if we can't get that, the truth is there's nothing we can do. So from the funding perspective, I mean, we've heard about, trillions and trillions of dollars that needs to be spent in order to meet the goals by whether it's 2030 or 2050 or 2070, whichever ones have been set. But overall, I definitely think that we are not in any kind of financial position to even begin to talk about that in any meaningful way, because, if it's about electricity, replacing all our electricity supplies with renewable energy, those things are going to cost a lot of money when we don't even have stable electricity from non-renewables at the moment. So trying to transition away from that is still going to be extremely difficult.
It's going to be,
those are parts of the issues that
it's going to be extremely difficult. But what I'm seeing is that what is emerging is that it looks like every country is beginning to pick its own date. President Buhari spoke about 2060 for Nigeria, the deadline being pushed by the United Nations is 2050. India President Indra Moody picked to 2070, which is even further than Nigeria's 2060. So it looks like everybody's trying to pick a date that looks a little bit comfortable because, again, if you look at $400 billion that President Buhari talked about or so, between now and 2060, that's 40 years. So that means we'll be spending about how many billions every year, billions of dollars. Where is the money going to come from? But again, we're going to have a bit more of this conversation moving on. But again, it's going to be a transition we need to transit. But again, it's not going to be in an orderly fashion. But I'm not too sure if the whole countries in the world can do this changeover in a single day or a single year. I think it's a wishful thinking. but it's good. We must do it for the planet. We need to support this initiative. Let's go to come home to West Africa, where the DMO is talking about additional round of sukuk borrowing. I'm sure you're already in the news with that. Joshua, between 200 billion and 250 billion naira. The question is, are we getting value for money for these borrowings? Moody's has affirmed the AAA rating and a stable outlook for AfDB Group. That's not really surprising, by the way. It got in a very good rating from some of the biggest rating agencies in the world, the Moody's, the Fitch, as well as S&P. Standard Organizations of Nigeria says it set out a new set of standards that will stop the rejection of Nigeria's agricultural commodities in Europe and elsewhere. Nigerian products are being rejected, broadly speaking, for lack of standards. Airtel Africa says he sold his Madagascar tower business to Helios Towers for $51.7 million so that they can put that money to reduce some of his debt and invest it in network expansion. Cote d'Ivoire says he's planning to triple his cashew output in 2022 and opens 3 new plants. Ghana is looking to boost domestic revenue via e-tax system. Josh, let's talk about Cote d'Ivoire's cashew export. We have cashew in Nigeria, and this 3 new plants to game on this. But again, tie that to the Standard Organization of Nigeria, by the way, because if we're exporting cashew, then the importers are waiting for us at the other side of the Atlantic to check whether we have standards.
Absolutely. I'm glad you tied the two together because they go hand in hand. The truth is, I'm surprised that it's taken us this long to address what has been a problem since I can remember. I mean, ever since I was much younger, I used to always ask my parents, why is it that we don't export as much as we should? And the truth is, we have the capability, we have the capacity in some cases, but our products keep getting rejected because of poor standards, because of a lack of standardization and a lack of stringent checks. So until that first issue is addressed, we are not going to be able to, efficiently or effectively send our products outside and have them, accepted, and more demand for them is created that way. So until we fix the standard issue, and then you come down to Cote d'Ivoire's cashew plants. Yeah. First, there are quite a few issues around this. First of all, stable electricity is number one. Number two, efficient agricultural output, because it's one thing to have the capacity to produce enough cashews to process and export. It's another thing to have the network of roads, of rail, whatever it is, to transport from the farms to the factories, unless the farms and the factories are going to be in the same place. And even then, you're just creating another problem because what happens after the processing is done?
Yeah, you've got to
so there are a lot of demands that have to be placed to address the issues that will come up before we can even get to that point, unfortunately. But we do have the capacity. It's not a lack of farmland. It's not a lack of willing investors. That's another thing. It's probably down to policy again, because sure, you address the standards, but then you also have to address the fact that there are several barriers or roadblocks or, red tape around just setting up a large scale, farm for anything. There are so many issues that you would have to deal with, whether it's local government, state governments, federal government, all these things. You need to get permits. I know of people who complain of the fact that they start agricultural projects and on a daily basis, government officials keep coming to harass them for one payment or one permit or another. And that is very demoralizing, and it eats into your margins. And in many cases, these things are very, small margin businesses until you get the processing done that can now allow you to increase the value of the products.
Yes, talking about standards, Joshua, you look at, for Nigeria, for example, look at the collapse of that 21-story building in Ikoyi just about 4 days ago this week. It all boils down to the issue of standards. What's the building standards that we have for the permits and all of that? So the issue of standards need to be addressed across board in Nigeria, not only for agricultural exports, but even for building construction. When it comes to standards, look at it, we're counting about almost 24 of fatalities yet, and rescue effort is still ongoing. So, and this is all boiled down largely to standards if we're going to look at it very closely. Again, it brings a whole lot of issues to the fore. Thank you for your thoughts on that. Let's touch on the Southern African space, because South Africa is talking about clean transition. Some of the world's largest economies, France, UK, the US, the EU, says they're giving South Africa about 141 billion rand, roughly 7 billion in US dollar terms, to transit. South Africa is the largest emitter of carbon dioxide on the continent because it's highly industrialized. But Eskom, which is the largest utility in South Africa, says clean transition will require public money. So it's asking for public funds. But where would the money come from? Just as Joshua said earlier, Old Mutual's private equity unit is in talks to buy out Long for Life in Southern African markets. And Mr. Price, one of the largest retailer, is looking at a half-year 2021 headline earnings per share between 30% and 40%, much higher. All this good news from the earnings side on the back of the reopening of the economy away from restrictions level 4 now to level 1. And Duncan Wamblad is the new CEO at Anglo American as Mark Kutifani exits the company. And Zimbabwe and Mozambique has expanded their trade linkage for businesses. Give me just about a minute of your thought, Joshua, around South Africa, which is the largest industrialized economy on the continent, how it's going to wade its way through this whole energy transition, net zero emission discussion.
Well, first of all, what I'll say is that there can't be, an overly politicized angle in this debate, simply due to the fact that it's for the benefit of everybody, regardless of your political leanings. But unfortunately, I'm not entirely sure that South Africa right now is in the right space politically for various reasons. Obviously, unfortunately, I think they've been a country in transition, at least politically, for the last 20 years, and I think that is going to be a major barrier to them efficiently transitioning to clean energy. Obviously, they've had a lot of issues recently. Eskom specifically has had a lot of issues. So getting or raising public funds for the clean transition is going to be very difficult. Any money that they get from outside is going to obviously have to be monitored very closely to ensure that it goes to the right purposes and that they're on track to deliver what they promise to deliver with money. So there are a lot of issues that are underlying in that debate, but I definitely don't think that it's going to be an easy thing for South Africa to transition away from carbon emitting means of producing electricity.
It's going to be a long walk for everyone, but the journey has started, by the way. So let's go ahead with everyone and see how we reach those milestones that we're setting for ourselves around the world. Let's across to North Africa, where it all started. Egypt is holding talks with France on a joint cooperation in oil and gas sector. The Suez Canal is reporting a revenue uptick of 12.4% to $551 million for the month of October. And Libya's National Oil Corporation and Daewoo ENC are in talks on oil and gas projects. Looks like a whole lot of oil and gas projects happening north of the continent, despite the climate change conversation. And Morocco Central Bank is committing to accelerate green financing. That's coming on the back of the COP26 summit ongoing till November the 12th. Tunisia's Central Bank says finalizing a 5-year national strategy on e-payment, according to the deputy governor of the central bank in Tunisia. So it's going to be a whole lot about this climate change conversation, Joshua, because everybody is talking about good to have, but again, it looks like the oil and gas projects is still popping up everywhere. It's Egypt here, Libya here. Everybody's still digging for oil, fast and furious.
Well, I think what I would say is, in order to address the current needs, there definitely still needs to be investments in oil and gas, because as we've seen with China having their rolling blackouts and things like that, there isn't still enough capacity right now for that transition to happen overnight, as you said. And our energy needs have to be met in the near term if we're even going to be able to successfully transition away from greenhouse gas emitting energy production. So the truth is that there will definitely be, and there's money to be made, let's be honest. We as humans are always looking to get richer, to acquire more. And so because of that, and there's still oil in the ground, if it was the case, I think actually this debate would be a lot simpler if we were having to make the transition not because of climate change, but because the oil in the ground was running out. If the oil in the ground was running out, there would, we wouldn't be in this situation because people would have to, by necessity, start transitioning away from, crude and all to more efficient, greener technologies. So I think it's sort of a thing of there's still oil in the ground, and until that oil runs out, I'm sure that there will still be drilling. It will just not happen at the same scale, as in previous decades. But definitely until every drop of oil in the ground has been extracted, there will still be companies willing to invest, willing to extract that oil for one reason.
Joshua, the way you're going is likely going to last forever, because I don't know how many deposits of oil we have in the world that it's going to be a very long. Well, it's going to be more than one generations we're talking about here.
Of course. But also we have to remember that, as we move away from the oil that's easy to get to, any other oil deposits will probably be in places that are much more difficult and much more expensive to extract the oil from. And so at some point, people will definitely give up.
Okay, let's see how it goes. Thank you very much. Interesting conversation around the COP26, climate change, energy financing on the African continent with you this morning. Thank you so much, Joshua Adebisi, Head of Banking Research Analysis at Vetiver Capital Management in Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you so much. Have a great day, and I'll see you all next time. Bye for now.